Mother-Daughter-Duopodcast.
Happy Tuesday. Why don't you open?
Happy Tuesday. I'm not going to open because I don't know all of that stuff that you always say. Welcome to the Mother-Daughter Duo podcast with Danielle Perkins as the main host. I am her co-host. My name is Jean Marie Perkins. How did I do?
That was it. You always lead with I don't know, but you end up doing it.
And then you always say something about something in the description up under.
Oh, yeah. See? I didn't even do that.
And you haven't did it. Mm-hmm. No, but you
know so much.
Go ahead. Do it now.
We are sponsored by M5 Mommy Monday Morning Motivation Meetup. The scroll text below.
I can't even say that. Say it 5 times.
Mommy Monday Morning Motivation Meetup. 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 M5 for short.
M5.
Yeah. See, you did a wonderful job.
All right. I won't
co-host.
Do it. Okay.
Come on. Keep going.
No. So we're going to open up with a mommy moment.
Mm-hmm.
And our mommy moments are anything that we think, or anything that you have done for yourself, or what is it? Say it again, because I can't think of it. So you go. What is it?
That was perfect.
Say it.
Stand strong in it. No, that was perfect. We get to decide what we say and how we define it.
So a mommy moment. So what's your mommy moment?
Let's see. I cheated. I cheat. You should take a lesson from me. My mommy moment, since I'm going to have a little person very soon, and my oldest son, Pierre, will no longer be my only son, was just like reminiscing and looking at all of his baby pictures in my phone. It's funny, when you're a single person, your camera roll changes. All the photos in the phone are less about me and a lot more about the kid. So looking at his stages and how he has evolved as a little person.
And he is such a happy little person.
Basically. He wakes up on 20.
Mm-hmm.
From the time he wakes up, we sleep and what is it called? Are currently co-sleeping. So he is right underneath me, wakes me up, says good morning, always smiling in my face, and then goes straight to the toy box, has his basketball, has his pointer because he's trying to teach us a learning lesson in the morning. I make sure to always play like really upbeat music for him in the morning. So it's always like, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. So he always has kept that enthusiasm from day one. And one thing, when I say I've been looking through the camera roll, I can see how his personality has basically been the same since he was little. He's always been trying to move, and you just know that he was always trying to do a lot more before his time.
Would you say he is different now, too, when he goes to daycare?
And he's a lot happier and enthused. He's kept that same enthusiasm when he goes to daycare. Like we talked about in the previous episode, he's always good morning at the top of the steps, greeting people.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else's demeanor is not always upbeat as his, and that's what people say about me. I just always come off very positive, especially in the workplace, and he has that same kind of energy.
Yeah, I remember his first day at daycare, and we dropped him off, and we went to pick him up. He was just so quiet, and he was sitting there, and he was
It took a while.
Yeah.
You know, he was born in April of 2020, right at the height of COVID.
Yeah. And
so I would have already kept him indoors because he's a newborn child, but also because of COVID, I really kept him inside. And so when he
went to daycare for the first time, I think that was a shock to his
complete shock.
Yeah, so when we picked him up, he was not engaging with Danielle and I at all. And I was like trying to play with him, and he was quiet. He was literally like a zombie.
Yeah,
and I was freaking out. I was like, I'm about to quit my job.
No, she wasn't. She kept her composure. She was like, Danielle,
I didn't. I was playing with him in the back. I was reaching back there.
We were on our way, I think, to Chick-fil-A the first time.
We were trying to get him some Chick-fil-A.
You were like, it's just the first time, and just let him go through the stages.
Woo.
I was like, I do not like this.
I was about to quit. I was about to quit my job on my grandbaby. But my mommy moment is, I haven't done it yet, but it's something I'm considering. Because we're talking about doing things for ourselves. And so my mommy moment is considering, I've been really giving it some thought, to go back to school for social work. And that's a big deal for me because I barely made it out of school with that bachelor's. Like, studying is not my thing. And then I was talking to some of the social workers yesterday at work, and they said it's not hard. They said it's easy. You just have to do a lot of papers. I said, thank you right there. You solidified that's why I ain't going back.
So you
gotta write papers, girl. But I'm still considering it. But yeah, school, I bet, woo, no.
So why do you want to, or why are you considering going back? Just curious.
At first, all of my supervisors, right, and I'm definitely weighing it out, right. I don't want it to be because my supervisors and my colleagues all tell me. I work for the Department of Veterans Affairs, and I work for homeless programs, and so in our programs we have social workers that help our homeless veterans, and so I work, you would think, I work as a supervisor now. Might as well get paid. I mean, I work as a social worker now. Might as well get paid as a social worker. But I just don't want that to be. And then my coworkers, my supervisors all say, Jean, you're doing the work of a social worker. You might as well go back to school for social work so you can get paid for it. And I've always told them, nope. Not going back to school. But here lately, I don't know, just one day last week, it just sat on my spirit and has not left. So before I jump into anything, I need to really let that sit there and dwell on it more and then finally make a decision. But that's one of my moments, because I figure by the time I finish school anyway, it's time for me to retire. So I'm not quite sure.
It's always funny to me because, mind you, I live with my mom, and she's so bossy and opinionated, and she's always telling people what to do, and that goes back to, like, yeah, you should just be in a lead position. It's very natural for you.
Social work is different. You can't just tell them what to do, even though on the side, I whisper in their ear. You can't tell anybody
what to do. But you do.
We ain't supposed to. We're supposed to let them make their own decisions. But
you're crazy. You're crazy.
Can't.
And I think that's why people appreciate you. You will cuss.
No, God,
I'm not done. You will cuss a veteran out in love. Just like really hold them accountable, and I think people appreciate that. But yeah. What else? Anything else?
No, that's my mommy moment, thinking about school. And that's something for me to better myself. It's something, my education. I never thought I would have gotten a bachelor's degree. So I'm happy knowing that I have a bachelor's degree. So then thinking about having a master's, I don't know.
Don't sell yourself short. And there's a lot of, when I went to technical college, there were people your age that were in school.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying you're never too. There's like people older than me.
Yourself enough to know that that's not true. I just know
that I'm looking forward to retirement. Because, we work all our life. We work up until 60 years old. Our government, our system is set up that you work up until you're almost 70 years old, then you retire. What life do you have left? And I've waited a long time, and I've been unfair to myself. And, and I've not really traveled, and I don't want to wait until I can't walk the airports anymore, and it's getting like that now. I'm 61. I'm not old, but, I just don't have the stamina, and my knees are really bad. So I've waited all this time to kind of like live and travel.
But you can still get your credentials, and something I heard through this week, although you may not be doing it as a position, you may not be doing it under the bridge or the umbrella of a business, it's still your purpose. And so you could still have the credentials and still be doing like speaking engagements or, whatever, public speaking engagements. And because you will never stop doing that, I don't think, just because you've turned 67 and you're able to retire.
I said it's a
Anyhow.
thought. Anyway, yeah.
What about our Mother May I?
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
What is it today?
Yeah, you're going to do all of it.
Oh, Lord.
So tell us, what is Mother May I?
Mother May I is Danielle is a part of a social media group of women. She is a part of several of them, and usually what she does is take questions from those social media platforms, and she'll bring them to the mother-daughter duo because there is a young woman on there inquiring about some situation that she's in, and she's looking for some advice.
You can also submit your questions by emailing motherdaughterduopodcast motherdaughterduoinfo@gmail.com.
Okay, say it again because you weren't sure.
motherdaughterduoinfo@gmail.com.
All right. So we have a young woman that reached out, and she says, I'm currently pregnant with my second child. My son, who is 7, has started becoming difficult at night. He's suddenly not wanting to sleep alone. He was never allowed to sleep in our bed. I will, on the weekends, lay with him for a little while before going to sleep. He is also saying he is scared of his room, even with adequate lighting in his room that shouldn't interfere with sleeping. One night he kept at it for hours. We got maybe 4 hours of sleep that night. Has anyone had this kind of issue out of older siblings during pregnancy?
So the older sibling.
It's the older sibling who's 7. His behaviors have changed.
Do you think it could be as a result of a newer sibling more close to the...
No, he's saying he's scared at night, so it doesn't have anything to do with the sibling.
Yes, but I'm thinking like, this is something I want you to start exploring more. Instead of just thinking surface, there could be something in the actions. Maybe he's seeing like the parents are gravitating a little bit more to the other child because the child is younger and they have to give more attention. So he's using the co-sleeping thing as an excuse to get closer to the parents.
Yeah, but the baby's not here yet. So he wouldn't know of a difference in, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm going to tell you, you're telling me the things. Yeah, the baby's not born yet. She's pregnant with the second child. And this kid's behavior is changing. And I think differently. I always think that there's at the root of something, there's something that has happened to him. So I would always say, whose house have you let him stay at over before?
You think negative.
Yeah, but you have to think like that because 9 times out of 10, now we had a conversation.
Not 9.
Yeah. 10 times out of 10
that they've been touched.
That they have been touched. Yeah.
Well, that's a really very
I'm
crazy
telling
number.
you. I'm telling you. So that's the first thing I look at because behind every action behind an individual that's out here on these streets.
What? Where are we going?
that's
He's
something
7.
led them to do what they. Yeah, we're going on a tangent. Okay, so let me reel it back. I don't know what to say. What would you say? I don't know why the young maybe get them in counseling. See if you can find a child therapist so you can understand why the child is not sleeping at night. What is the source of his fear? It did not just automatically come out of nowhere.
Yeah, maybe he's evaluate some of the movies that you're watching, some of the television programs that you're watching. Mm-hmm. And I do think that because you're pregnant and he's 7 years old, he probably does understand there's a new person. I thought the baby was born. That there is a person that is coming, and so he could be like jumping out ahead and jealous in some capacity. Those could be valid things to look at and assess, but also, just a different stage, different time, and he could very well just be very scared of the dark. But you just have to be consistent, making sure that you're always bringing him back to you're okay. Let's check in the house. Let's check in the room. Let's check in the closet. Let's check under the bed, to reassure him until he feels completely comfortable. Try laying in the bed with him for a little bit and starting to read
does that. That's what
stories.
she said.
Bedtime stories?
She didn't say stories, but she's done that a couple of nights. And I know when they see this podcast, they're going to say, what is she talking about?
Me.
When I had said, where has he stayed
You
before?
said 10 out of 10, too. Like,
well, I'm so
every kid
sorry.
ain't
I
been
know that's
touched
negative,
now.
but that is true. So I apologize, and I don't want anybody to think I'm crazy.
Just
So,
in your experience.
It's just in my, right, it's in my experience that has been the source of a lot of people's mental health. But yeah, find out what that source is. Be a little bit patient, because it's something that you can probably work through and he'll come out of, So, but definitely have conversations with him. Find out what the source of his fear is. Pay attention to some of the things that he watched before going to bed, and hopefully he'll come out of that.
Okay. We are nearing the end of, I'll say, season 1 of our podcasting journey. It's been a lovely ride so far. I want to talk about, because of the type of conversations that we have had, as a mom, as a daughter, I have not always been the best. You said you haven't always been the best. Let's talk about reconciliation and forgiving yourself and forgiving one another.
Mm-hmm. How did you say, Okay.
Oh, you're like, it seems like you're like, where's this going to go?
Yeah.
I thought so. I talked about being a latchkey kid before, talked about, and Bruce, the effects that has had on Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about, we've talked about molestation on this platform, and what having a healthy support system looks like, and sometimes not so healthy. In my case, how do you begin to forge the relationship or repair the relationship with your children after those mistakes? And then how do you begin to forgive yourself for those mistakes? Because I do feel like I'm very guilty even now of bringing those things back up. And I'm learning that it's because I probably did not have a straightforward conversation. It's always been a roundabout. So any kind of opportunity I had where I can bring it up for me to talk about it, I did. But at some point, which you are very good at telling me, at some point, Danielle, you have to let those things go. Not to say that you are dismissive of my feelings, but how many sorries can I give you before you start to stop using those as a crutch? What would you say to a mom who, she may have done the absolute worst. You have not. But what would you begin to say to a mom in your experience of social work who, look, you see how I try to use your credentials, so you better have something really good to say.
I didn't finish my master's, so this is going to be a bachelor's of science answer.
What would you begin to say to someone who has done the absolute worst, starting at the very extreme, but is looking to forgive themselves and repair a relationship with their child? How would you start to counsel them or begin to counsel them and advise them? And take the mental health out of it right now. Take going to a counselor. Actually give an answer.
Well, girl, that's not necessarily a bad answer. But
it's not a bad answer, but I want you to give an answer first.
I think we have to be realistic and not think that you can reconcile without asking for forgiveness. And then, depending on the type of, trauma it was that the child suffered,
Be okay if they're not ready to reconcile.
right, you have to be okay if reconciliation doesn't necessarily mean coming back together and everything is hunky-dory. And I think, first of all, what I mean to say is forgiveness does not necessarily mean the person is automatically welcome back in your life. You can forgive somebody, they don't have to be a part of your
Forgive someone, they don't have to have
life.
direct access to you.
Right. And so for a mother or father who has caused a lot of harm, hurt, or were not there, just were horrible parents. I think the child should be and it's hard for a child, especially a child that's still young, because they just don't have, maybe life hasn't afforded them the opportunity. And when I say life, I mean life experiences and wisdom. They have not
been a full circle moment yet.
Haven't developed it enough to understand the importance of just allowing the forgiveness and then kind of working through all of that. So I think forgiveness has to happen first, and forgiveness does not automatically mean reconciliation. And then I think there's part of that where you can reconcile, where there can be a coming back together, but it's not going to be immediate, right? It's something that's gradual, and the person that caused the offense, caused the hurt, has to be patient with the person that experienced the hurt, because they want to take their time with it. You just can't automatically come in somebody's life when you've caused a lot of hurt there.
So how can one, first of all, you said the first action should be, I guess, recognizing that you made the mistake, but then apologizing for it. So
yeah,
what does that look like? I'm sorry I did this to you.
Yeah. I mean, people should be aware of some of that. Sometimes we're not. I don't think and this might not be helpful, but there's a scripture in the Bible that I try to really hone in on and think about when I talk about forgiveness. And it's in Romans 12 and 18, and it says, as much as it depends on you, if you are able, live at peace with all men. And that's a very profound statement, because it's saying as much as it depends on me. So the responsibility is on me to forgive and reconcile.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
I would think that is because it's telling me I have the capability of doing it. That's why it is. As much as it depends on you. So the responsibility is not necessarily on the other person, but it's on me to do all I can to live in peace with all men. Well, what does that look like? Peace, And so if there's harm or hurt that I've caused over the years to someone, to a child, I would try to, offer my forgiveness. There's nothing that I can do about what happened in the past. People that are really sorry for their actions, they have to deal with their anger and their hurt and their disappointment in their own self over the years. And then you want me to take on the hurt that I caused you. I understand the hurt that I might have caused, but I don't want you to continuously beat me up about that hurt, because I beat myself up enough. I don't want you to continue to throw that in my face. I throw it in my face enough. And so I think we have to be able to get to a point where we are mature enough to say, this is something that happened, yes, but let's try our best to move forward from here. What can I do to move forward from here and move into a positive direction in relationship with my mom or my dad, and kind of get past it so we can be healthy mentally.
Yeah, I think that's the part that I was asking, is just like, to your point, that scripture, the passage, is important, because when you don't have forgiveness in your heart, it's like, what is that saying? Another saying is like,
not
having you to drink. Oh goodness, I done forgot it.
Well, it
Drinking the
just
poison
breeds. It breeds so much.
Yes.
It breeds anger. It breeds resentment. It breeds low self-esteem. It breeds for some people, it breeds a lot of mental health issues, self-harm. It not loving yourself enough breeds so many different things.
Not loving yourself enough, or forgiving.
Oh, forgiving, yeah.
Not forgiving someone is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So it's very toxic when you harbor those types of feelings, like you said, that angst, that regret, the bitterness. It's just not healthy on an emotional level, a mental level, physical level. And so that's why it would be important for you to have forgiveness in your heart for yourself and the other person, to start the healing journey. And then after you can forgive, talking about what that looks like and giving both an opportunity to the space and time to let that forgiveness and that healing journey evolve and manifest into whatever it is. For me, forgiving my dad, who was not always in the picture, just looked like him coming out for a visit, seeing my son for the first time, us chopping it up, having a good time, going to the casino, kicking it, and just like nothing, no time passed. And that ended up being the best thing that could ever happen, because ultimately it wasn't even a year later. I think I said a year later before, but ultimately he passed away. Mm-hmm. Something that will always stand out to me is like, did he know? And is that why? But it doesn't even matter. It was wonderful that we were able to have that experience. Had I been harboring unforgiveness in my heart, we would never have that type of closure. So those are the reasons why I think it's important for us. When I still have the luxury, the blessing, the fortitude of having my mother still with me, this is a stage to the healing journey where we're able to hash things out on the podcast, and hopefully that resonates with a lot of women. But hopefully, like, a few times we went out to eat after some hard discussions, and I feel like it was because we were like releasing ourselves of something, or I was. You're like, that was great.
Yeah.
I think forgiveness is very important. What about forgiving oneself?
Yeah, that too. Because when you don't, and that's not easy. But when you don't forgive yourself, it also breeds the same things that I mentioned earlier, and it continues to keep you stagnant. When you continuously beating up on yourself and thinking of yourself as no good and unworthy and all of this, then you just can't move forward in life, and it keeps you stagnant. So, and it's really hard. When you're having to forgive yourself. When I think about some of the things, as when you guys were young, and me having to make certain decisions, and I get hurt when I think about it. One thing that sometimes brings me to tears is knowing that when Bruce was at home by himself and he was playing with matches, that caused me a lot of hurt. And then the other thing is, when he had to walk home from school, and he had to walk a long, long way, and he was going to his Aunt Linda's house. Those are two things that sometimes will come up in my mind that will cause me to cry when I think about that. I don't know, but because I feel
I'm
like
not laughing, but you didn't necessarily close it out how you forgave yourself. You still crying about those situations.
I'm just being honest about some things that still pop up. Still pop up in my mind. And I have to just pray, fight against myself, fight against my own thoughts. You know, yeah.
And do you go to counseling for those things?
I go to counseling. Those are none of the things that I talk about with my counselor. My thoughts are about molestation as a kid and things that happened with my ex-husband. So, yeah.
Well, counseling can help.
Yeah, I think it can. I kind of maneuver myself pretty good in those areas about with my children.
Okay. Well, this is like the second to the last podcast. So thank you for those that have watched from beginning to the end. If you haven't, make sure you do circle back around. We appreciate you. And peace.
In the Middle East.
Mother Daughter Duo Podcast.